Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in today from. Hello, my name is Nishit Kotak. Welcome to today's broadcast brought to you by the Hindu Academy team. What we do here on this broadcast is we answer your questions on the topic of Hinduism. So this is very good for anybody who is a beginner, who has had intermediate experience or has some advanced experience of Hinduism. The way it works is we start at 2 o'clock every Saturday, and the broadcast will run for about 50 to 60 minutes. The format is very simple. We start with a focused topic of the day. Today's topic is a very interesting one. It's called, Is Bollywood Damaging? And what we are going to do is we're going to play a little video, and then we will have a discussion around it. So they say in India, we've got many, many religions. And amongst those religions, we also have two more, cricket and Bollywood. And so we're going to look into Bollywood today. And hopefully we'll have some very interesting discussion session around it. So enjoy this video, and we will be back shortly to have a discussion on it.
To what extent is Bollywood changing people in India's views on Hinduism?
Yes. You see, this is a wonderful question, because Bollywood, we all like colorful imagery, choreographed dances, music. I'm attracted to music. I love music. And I love this colorful imagery. That's wonderful. We all understand the role and relevance of this kind of wonderful thing that attracts human mind. Now you see, media has got three roles. You might be interested to know this. It is supposed to educate, hopefully, because now if you do anything, you can do a course, a degree course on using the media on the computer. So it can educate, it can inform, it can tell you what's happening in the world now. They could discover something new to fight cancer, whatever. Instantly the information goes around the world. It can educate, it can inform, but the third aspect of media is it can entertain. Nothing wrong with entertainment. We all like, some kind of, if you like, release from this burden of daily life. It's very heavy, very hard. We need a release. We need human beings. We like to see other human beings jump up and down, dance, and get, fall in love and all that. Nothing wrong with any of that, provided it is kept under check. When the media is overly kind of compensating by just entertaining and ignoring the other aspect, educating and informing, then you see it has overwhelmed the system. And how does it overwhelm? Human aspirations are only for lower things, which are more animalistic. Is that beautiful girl? Oh, we start drooling. So human beings are automatically drawn to the lower aspects of our being, our animal nature. So media will catch on to that, because this is where they get the money, they get the advertisement. If they do all these Bollywood stories and Bollywood films and all the serial soap operas, so they can draw money, they can get advertisement. That's why all these serials are very popular in India and in the UK too. Because they talk about human issues, wallowing in sentimentality. We all love that wallowing in sentimentality. They cry and they laugh and they cry and they laugh, and mostly crying in the soap operas. We like wallowing. It's a lower way of understanding the human condition. So, in a way, it can be overwhelm the system. And this is what's happened in modern India. I like entertainment. I'm not here to vilify entertainment. It must be kept under check. You switch most of the Indian channels now, nothing but half-naked girls dancing about and wiggling their bottoms. Just switch. It's frightening. That means you are really turning into a quivering animal. You see, the higher aspirations lost. The animal aspirations encouraged. That is what Bollywood is all about. And that is why I'm not vilifying. I'm saying, fine, there may be some beautiful stuff in the media, in Bollywood too. But keep it under check. When it overwhelms the system, it destroys the moral fabric of that nation. You see, promiscuity, no problem. All these kind of ideas which are sometimes on the borderline of turning us from the human to the animal are encouraged, because this is the lower aspiration of humanity. It's easy to plug it in. So it has to be kept under check. We understand the role of entertainment, provided it is kept under control. And in India, in the Bollywood phenomena, we have lost it. At the moment, suppose I wanted to do a talk in India, and I said, I'm talking to talk about Swami Vivekananda. I'll get 10 people will turn up. And tomorrow I say, I'll go Shah Rukh Khan with me, 100,000 will turn up. See, that this is what I mean by overwhelming the system. The Bollywood phenomena is a sweet poison given to a nation that is unaware that it is poison but sweetened.
That's an amazing video. I really enjoyed a quick, sharp synopsis of the topic for the day. And in fact, we've seen this in a number of places, and there is no right and no wrong on this. So, for example, if we would see a new song released by some new Bollywood actor, within a 24-hour period, the song would have like millions of hits. Now, some of it is obviously paid advertising, but the rest is using their influence in social media. And that's great to see as well. But on the flip side, if you look at it like we release one video, and then it would not even have a comparative views, number of views against that one. So there is a little bit of imbalance there, like Jay said. And it is a very interesting discussion because there's lots of for and against the two things. And there's lots of shades of the color, as we say. There's no real clear view on this topic. But to explore this a little further, I'm going to bring on the team. So today we have got, as usual, Manish Bhai, Sita Ben, Vijay Bhai. Welcome to today's broadcast, folks. Manish Bhai, as usual, I'm going to hand over to you. What are your thoughts on Bollywood phenomenon?
Yes, Nishit Bhai, a very interesting topic. And Jai Bhai said it's a sweet poison. Growing up in India, I was onto Bollywood as well myself. And in schools as well, we would be talking about who's your favorite actor, actresses, and always talking about movies. So this thing is huge. If you think, if you look at the YouTube, which are the biggest channels? They are the channels which are showing the Hindi movie songs, Bollywood songs. And it has a huge influence. But what we see is there is no good representation of Hinduism. It's like it's showing, or if there is a representation, it's very poor. And that is a very worrying sign. And over the years, I think it's got worse rather than getting better. There is no conscious effort to, show the majority religion in a good light, or at least do justice to it. What is your view on this, Vijay Bhai? Is Bollywood helping Hinduism in any way, or is it just damaging?
I don't think it's helping Hinduism in that sense. I mean, no doubt there are some programs, perhaps in Hinduism, there are some movies, very rare, which show, India's dharmic culture, in a positive light. But it seems that, as Jay Bhai says, that, humans by nature tend to go for low aspirations. And there's no ecosystem. The whole ecosystem in India is geared towards low aspirations. And this has been going on since independence for a long, long time. And so, while I agree that there are some good messages in cinema as well, some good, social messages like social ills, but generally the issue is that we see all these, as I said, low aspirations, somebody going with this person, then going with this person, it doesn't work out, then third person. So you all these kind of stories. Some storylines are really, really bizarre, yes. So, so I think in that sense, it's very, very damaging. I mean, also the soap operas we see on TV, it's like, we have, it's like a, battle in the house, all these stories you have of the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. And if you spend hours just watching that, how are you going to go think for higher things? And I've actually seen that. I mean, I've some cousins, I won't name them, but they actually interact with the TV as well. They say, yeah, sort her out, That guy is talking very sweetly, but he's a very cunning, watch out. So they all this kind of, so they actually consuming and interacting with it is bizarre, when you see that, yeah. But it just shows how much it's dragging people to that level. And that is worrying in my view. But I mean, from what I hear now, there is some changes taking place in India. People are challenging that. They're saying this is not right narrative. They want to see different narrative, different movies, yes, and different kind of, media or cinema. So let's see how it goes. But I do know that because I am on Twitter as well. There's a huge war raging on Twitter. The pros, the fans of Bollywood and the ones against Bollywood. But to see that the group is growing, the ones who are challenging Bollywood is growing, is in a way a good sign. The thing is, look, if we all consume, we will never create things. And Bollywood brings that level of just a consuming, as Jay, but we are drooling and consuming. You can only create if you think of higher things, right? So how do we become a creative nation, a creative, country? We think of higher things. So I hope that things will change slowly, but I personally think India should become a dharmic civilization and focus. Then I think it'll change. But we are where we are, and we do the best we can to try and promote Hinduism. Sita?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's just sort of playing to the lowest common denominator, basically. And it's thing is, it's not just in India. We have to also remember that there's this kind of culture across the world, and anything which sort of plays to the lowest common denominator is going to be so much more popular than some of the higher aspirations that we strive for. So that's just the way the human nature is. And I think there really needs to be a change in the mindset away from these kind of lower aspirations towards something higher. And I think eventually, there is, all of us sort of go through this phase that, we have to sort of live through life, enjoy all the materialistic culture that is around us. There's nothing wrong with that in that sense. However, eventually all of us will hit a point where we're just not getting that satisfaction, that happiness from this materialistic culture that we were hoping for. And then that inner stirring will come from within us. So even though, Bollywood culture has sort of permeated India, it's saturated India for so long, I'm hopeful that human nature will eventually prevail, in the sense that we will eventually start getting fed up with it. We're fed up with this sort of lowest common denominator. And then we'll start thinking about, it's not actually resolving my human condition. It gives me a bit of happiness while I watch it for a couple of hours, but it's not really resolving my human condition. So I hope that eventually people will say, let me look for something else, and they try and look for something deeper and something higher, which can actually uplift them, lift their spirits and make them feel empowered about themselves. Because the thing with a lot of these Bollywood films and all this sort of lovey-dovey stuff that's going on in Bollywood films is, it just makes you feel weak, because you think, oh, I really like that actor, I really like that actress, and it makes you feel weak. Whereas spirituality and spiritual progress is all about what makes you feel uplifted, what makes you feel empowered. So I think we shouldn't, be a banning culture. We're not a communist state. We can't say, nobody will ever watch this ever again, because that's just going to backfire very badly. Let it be there. But I have hope that humanity will eventually evolve out of that kind of way of thinking and try and focus on something higher.
Thank you, Sita-Ben, Vijay, interesting answers. So in Bollywood, what we normally see is, the love story. A normal Bollywood movie would be about, there's one hero, two heroes and two heroines, and the love affair, love is happening, and all this viraha ras come in, the swallowing and sentimentality. Is the name of the game in Bollywood. What is your take on this, Sita-Ben? Because they hardly saw any, glorious Indian past, the wonderful Vedas, the Vedic culture. There's hardly any movie on the, this Vedic glorious past of, and a wonderful material in the literature and stuff as well. You hardly see anything. All you see is this love stories and all this beautiful dance and songs, and an item number has to be there as well. Somebody wearing very less clothes and dancing in very, suggestive manner. What is your take on this, Sita-Ben?
Yeah, so I mean, you know what? I know Dad absolutely hated this, and I also hate it as well, is sometimes, when children are exposed to this kind of thing, it's very, very upsetting. And also another thing which a lot of Indian parents do, which I don't like, and Dad definitely did not like, is, they try and get their children to copy some of the moves from some of these very promiscuous Bollywood songs. And it just feels completely wrong. And we really need to sort of move away from that kind of culture, because what are you trying to teach your children? Honestly, you should be focusing on higher aspirations. You shouldn't be even thinking about that when you're a child. So there's a definite need to move away from it. And the other sort of angle to it is not just the Bollywood films, but also all these Indian soap operas and stuff. They very much sort of play on, pitting this person against this person, and this person is a villain and this person is a goody and we're always on the goody side, and it's all very much like that. And in a way it's sort of like, again, like it's like a gossip culture. Oh, this person is good and this person is bad, and all of that. And it sort of again plays to the lowest common denominator, because we all love a bit of gossip, and we all love, we all love to hate this person and we all love to love this person. But essentially what we need to sort of change our thinking, and I think it can only come naturally. It can't ever be pushed or imposed on anybody. So when you sort of judge a person's character and their ability and all of that, a lot of people say that, when people talk about other people and they gossip about them, that's kind of the lowest form of conversation. And then when you sort of have a more sort of higher mindset, you talk not so much about people and gossip, you talk about ideas and aspirations and theories and science and that kind of thing. So your thinking is naturally higher. So when the mindset of humanity eventually will evolve, hopefully those kinds of ideas will be more appealing and attractive to people, rather than sort of sitting and gossiping about people and thinking, oh, this person is good and bad and all of that. We've got much better things that we can focus our minds on. But again, I mean, I'm not trying not to see it in a negative light, in the sense that this is the process of human development. This is the process of human growth. We have to grow out of it before we can then appreciate and value the higher things. So there's no point banning it and saying, oh, it's bad, everybody stop right now. I think that stirring has to come from within. When you stop thinking, oh, I just don't want to just gossip about people. I want to focus on ideas and theories and more sort of higher aspirations, really. Vijay bhai?
I think, Sita, I absolutely agree with you. I think the key thing is that we need to change the mindset. I think people are so conditioned with, as Sita mentioned, as playing at the lower denominator. You can imagine if you're going to watch this, it's going to reflect your daily life. Oh, this person like that person like that. And if you spend half your life arguing on how people are and what people do, and this guy is bad, this is good, then you'll never evolve as a person, right? But the thing is that what this cinema does is actually conditions you to think at that level. And that's the key problem. I mean, there's so many things we can pursue. We can pursue science, mathematics, classical dance, classical music. There's so many things we can pursue. And I'm pretty sure the people out there very creative, who can make movies with this kind of themes, it's possible. So I hope that evolution takes place. I think the key thing we want to make sure is we don't ban things. Because if we ban things, then eventually how much keep on banning? Then you ban even ideas. So let it be there, but I think people need to evolve. If people evolve, cinema will evolve as well. So hold on, people are getting more intelligent, they're thinking high aspirations. They don't want this sentimentality, and they won't do it. So I think that the study has to come from within. I think society as well has to focus on these higher things. So in a way, that's what we are doing in Hindu Academy. We're trying to promote these ideas of wonderful Hinduism and percolate them in society. So people think differently, think in different ways. So that's a key idea. I mean, that's why even when I look at Swami Vivekananda, these are guys who create things, who make things, not just follow things. I think this is what we have to learn, that not become followers, or they say drooling and looking at something. I wish I was that. Become a master. You become a genius. You become a master. That can only happen if the society itself changes. I hope that happens, but it should happen, I guess. But let's see. What is right.
Thank you, Vijay bhai, Sita ben. So some of these movies have very Hindu name, like Radhe Shyam, Ram Avatar, Ram Lakhan, Hey Ram, Ram Teri Ganga Meli, Satyam Shivam Sundar. And when you see the storyline, nothing to do with Hinduism. The question is, do Bollywood ever do justice to the Hindu culture and the background of the people? Are there any movies made which portrays this glorious past that we had, Vijay bhai?
Very few I've seen. I mean, personally, the one I really like the best so far is series on Chanakya, which I watched twice, by Chandra Prakash Dwivedi. That's the one I watched, and I really love that cinema. Because that's showing, Indian ethos coming out and fighting against evil forces using Indian ethos. That was very beautiful. I love that series, but they're very, very few and far in between. I think the thing is, because Hindus are by nature, very calm and gentle. If somebody misuses, we don't go and challenge them really. So people like advantage, they say, yeah, let's put name. You're really right. I mean, how can you call a movie Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram? It's nothing to do with Satya, you know. It doesn't do with Shiva. It doesn't do with bliss at all. It's something totally different. So the actual meaning in Sanskrit, the beautiful meaning in the scriptures, is totally forgotten, like Ram Lakhan. I mean, so and the movie is something else. But the thing is, we can't go and attack them. That's what I don't want to go and say, okay, no, you guys, you're going to come and beat you up if you use these names. We can't do that. What we can do is change people's attitudes. Look, does it really suit a name for movies, a name like this or not? But yeah, it's very, very funny when you say that, Manish, the way it sounds, right? But it happens. Like there was one movie which I did see a clip of. It was something called Ram Leela or something. I can't remember. It's shot in Kutch. Some movie about, and the movie's about Romeo and Juliet theme. Nothing to do with Ram Leela, right? I mean, Ram Leela is in the Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana. It's nothing this, you know. So when I saw a clip of, I thought, let me see if I see some Kutch clip. But it's bizarre. It's Romeo and Juliet, but it's called Ram something. I can't remember the full name now.
I think it was Ram Leela, yes.
Ram Leela, right? So Ram Leela is Hanuman meeting Ram, you know, is Shabri meeting Ram. Nothing to do with Romeo and Juliet. So I think sometimes I believe they're doing it deliberately. Sorry to say, is to pull people in to watch the movie, right? It's a question, how intelligent are you to avoid that kind of title and be pulled by it? Yes. So there you go, Sita.
Yeah, I think another thing is in a lot of these films is that the only real sort of mention of religion or God or whatever is when people are struggling and, you know, somebody is dying and they will pray and pray to God, and then the bells are ringing in the temple and everyone is, please, Mother Goddess, help my son, and everyone is crying, and then the Mother Goddess does some magic and the child is saved and everyone says hooray, and that's really the only mention of religion or God in a lot of these films. And the thing is, like, for some people, God is like a, you know, as Dad used to say, a fourth emergency service. You know, you've tried the fire brigade and the ambulance and nothing is working, so you call on God. That's the fourth and last one. But religion is, of course, so much more than that. And there's obviously a lot of philosophical challenges to thinking of God as a fourth emergency service, because it just doesn't work that way. So there's, you know, it kind of in a way can give a wrong impression that God is just your emergency chain to pull when you sort of are struggling, and the rest of the time you forget about God and you sort of dance around bushes and in mountains and trees and all sorts of things like that. So God shouldn't just be remembered, you know, when you're struggling and suffering. God should be remembered through every aspect of your life and make your life spiritual and uplifted in that way. And the other thing we have to remember is that, you know, you can pray to God, but it's not necessary that, you know, God will, you know, listen to you, say, oh, I'm in the sky, I will listen to you and I will make your son better. It doesn't work like that. And if you sort of encourage people to think of God in that way, it's definitely going to come across problems, because people think, well, it didn't work for me. What kind of a God is this? And it makes them maybe want to even abandon the idea of religion and God. Like, what kind of a God is this? It works in the films, but it doesn't work in real life. So I think we need to make sure that religion is portrayed in a more positive light and not just a fourth emergency chain to pull when we're struggling.
So true, Sitaben. Also, you know, some movies, they are questioning and challenging some of the Hindu ideas. Like, oh my God, there was a movie, PK, which query a question about some gurus and, you know, fraudulent gurus. And you see these kind of movies there, but, and they are fine. They can challenge and all in good, but we don't see this happening to other religions as well. It's just targeting Hinduism in a way, negative manner. I mean, is that right, Sitaben?
No, of course it's not right. So we have to make sure that, you know, everyone, as much as possible, has a good structured understanding of their own religion, and that can really give a good protection. You know, you can sort of stand up to the challenges that are put towards your religion if you have a proper understanding of your religion. And I think the sort of danger or the trap that we've fallen into as Hindus around the world is that we always think of the idea of religion and studying spirituality and all of these things as something like a pastime, like a hobby, and it's not something that we should focus much of our attention and energy on. Whereas if it's given a central importance in our life right from childhood, it can really hold our hand in difficult times. And it's not just a pastime or a hobby that you keep on the side, you know, it's something that's integral to your life, because life is full of so many challenges, so many ups and downs. And if you've got this sort of spiritual inheritance to draw strength from, it can really help to sort of transform your life for the better. And actually, when we started the Hindu Academy, when Dad started this whole thing, it started off as classes for small children to do stories about Hinduism and all of that. But you won't believe the amount of struggle that both my parents went to my parents were going and giving out leaflets to Hindu children saying, come and join our classes, come and join our classes. And the parents would say, no, I'm going to send my son to math tuition. Why should I send him to Hinduism classes? Because the priority wasn't there. So I think there's a real need to shift the emphasis back to bringing spirituality into our lives on an everyday basis, and not just some kind of extra curricular activity. It's something so much more than that. Vijay bhai?
So I think Manish bhai, it is true. There are movies out there who kind of challenge maybe the Hindu idea of God. Look, it's not bad in the sense that we like to be challenged, right? It's not bad to be challenged, but I agree with you. There won't other religions because maybe they're scared of being threatened with lives or whatever, or they maybe feel that they might be cost effort on them to, Hindus will not do that in that sense. But I think the thing is to be aware that these movies are out there. Look at from a rational point of view how they're challenging it. Sometimes they're making fun of it. Ignore that part, because the thing is, I think that part. I think we have to work as a collective group to take on and defend Hinduism in that sense. That we shouldn't allow people to just make fun all the time. But the key thing is this: that we, as Sita said, we have to be aware and we have to have knowledge, good understanding of Hinduism. Then we push it aside. I mean, movie is one thing, but now in the internet is even more, because you can't find who the person is. And internet, a lot of this is happening now. Society is going to look at consume all this material. So the key thing is, how do you defend yourself, and how do you educate yourself in Hinduism and get a rational view, not just any view of Hinduism. It has to be a rationally ground-based view. Then you are safe. You can defend yourself.
Agrees, Vijay bhai. So Kunal is saying now people have really started reacting to Hindu stuffs in Bollywood movies. It's always been in late 90s movies, but after 2014, now they are reacting. And many movies are dubbed Hindu-phobic and against Hinduism. And what we see, Vijay bhai, is some of these movies, they would have a very nice boy who is a Muslim, and girl is a Hindu, and then they fall in love, and and it's a love story. But reverse is not true. The boy will never be, a Hindu and a girl Muslim and a girl learning about Hinduism. That doesn't happen. And this is, people see this as a kind of a love jihad, where love jihad happens where somebody is trying to convert a Hindu girl using fraudulent love, basically. Is this worrying, Vijay bhai? And what can we do about this?
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen that many very few Bollywood movies, but look, the thing is the entire ecosystem is designed in such a way, you can't even blame the girl sometimes, as you say, if that happens, yeah? Because the thing is, that's what she's exposed to all the time. So you may say, oh, it's her fault, the parents didn't bring her properly, whatever. But the whole entire atmosphere, you go out, the billboard show this, right? Advertisement show this, everything shows this. If on a magazine, it shows you the same thing, right? All these stories. So I think the thing is that we really have to work to, as Jay Bhai said, put an armor on us, yes? An armor of rational Hinduism, teach about Hinduism. But look, the only way we can change, if you people get more and more aware, then these Bollywood movies will be rejected. Like I think I was told, I don't know which ones, but a couple of them have flopped, whatever that means. They've flopped in the cinema. They're struggling. These people are becoming aware. So I think partly they'll become more aware if you expose them to other ideas, expose them to dharma, to religion. You bring new ideas and new creations, then this will happen. And I hope that more people come up with diverse ideas and take this kind of, exclusive domain of this, consuming media from Bollywood and expand it to other other different, new people who have got new different ideas. That happens. I think it'll change. But you're right. I mean, if that's the case and only one, then that's wrong. Obviously, that's not. It should. If it works, it should be both ways. And even better, transcend that idea. Focus on other kind of creative ideas and make movies on that. Sita.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a long time, I mean, a lot of these Indian films, I mean, I never really watched very many growing up because I had dad as my dad. um, but I think the general impression of, especially like the older Bollywood films, it was the same old sort of formula. There was a love story and it was a forbidden love, and then there's conflict in the family and all this drama going on. And I think now, well, from very limited from what I've understood, like there are a lot of new films on Netflix, for example, which are completely different. They're nothing to do with that same old formula, which is really refreshing. And I know there are films like Three Idiots and all of that, which are really nice. They're really good, feel-good films. So I think we are sort of on the right track, and we're moving away from this sort of creating divisions between religions based on these kind of films and the love stories and all of that. So I'm hopeful that we are progressing in the right way. And a film that Dad really liked, which is an Indian film, I think it's actually South Indian, is Bahubali. And he kept telling me, you must watch this, you must watch this. And I watched it and it was very good. So it's completely different. And I really recommend it. It's a very good one. But yes, I think we are on the right track, and we're moving away from that sort of very old wallowing in sentimentality and creating divisions between religions. We don't want any of that.
Yes, so as Vijay Bhai said, some of these Bollywood movies have flopped, means they did not make the money that was spent to make it, they didn't make it back. So it wasn't profitable. And as you mentioned, Bahubali, some of these South Indian movies saw in such a wonderful light and culture that they have done really well. And that's good to see that there is a shift happening, people are recognizing. Also, these series, etc., are giving now people's tastes are changing, and people will no longer watch just old formula movies. So that is good to see, and the change is happening, and we hope the change happens in the right direction. But one huge subject, reincarnation. Now, very few movies are made on this. And there was a TV series called Raj Pichle Janam Ka, which somebody would hypnotize people, take them in their past life, and then try to discover what happened in their past life. It was getting popular, but it was shut down because of opposition by some groups. And this kind of ideas are now explored. So, as a medium, this kind of, especially reincarnation, is a huge thing, and it's not touched. Why so? Vijay Bhai.
Look, I mean, I haven't seen that particular series you mentioned, but I've seen some Arthur C. Clarke documentaries on that. No, this idea should be explored. Why not? I mean, this is what we're talking about. Think of different things you can discuss in cinema, different things you discuss in the media. And you guys, it's a big thing. I don't know why it was banned, but it's really sad it was banned. We should explore. I mean, there's so many other ideas, scientific ideas, geographical ideas, archaeological ideas, so many ideas. We can do a lot of creative things. And the one thing I've noticed that, which is really sad, as you mentioned about the reincarnation, I have not seen any movies talking about Sanskrit, because Sanskrit was a lingua franca for 1,000 years in India. So much must have happened in that era, right? People were talking Sanskrit, doing different, Gupta era, and before that, Mauryan dynasty. We hardly see anything on that. And when you see something, it's so Bollywoodized, but we can't even know what they're talking about. So there's a huge gap missing, which is to be explored for cinema, where all these Indian ideas flourished, and they're not there. I mean, I've read all these, Amachita Kathas about, Raja Vikramaditya, all these, famous king of Ujjain. There's so many ideas we have. I mean, there's literature which runs in thousands of pages, and we haven't done anything on that. So reincarnation is but one of these themes. I think so. I think that hopefully, there's some movies coming out which are exploring all these themes, and hope that they succeed and bring up, Indian tradition cultures, which which go for high aspirations rather than low aspirations. Sita?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think because reincarnation is such a fascinating topic. I mean, if you mention reincarnation, everyone's ears prick up because it's fascinating to think that this life is connected to this life. And the fact that somebody is able to vividly recall their previous life is absolutely fascinating. So, the amount of films and material which can be produced around that would be incredible. I can imagine it being really popular. So, I don't know why it hasn't been tapped into, apart from maybe it might step on cultural sensitivities of other religions, but I mean, I don't. I shouldn't really. I mean, it's such a wonderful idea, and actually, it was prevalent in Europe, in ancient Greek philosophy. It was present in so many places, and I think it would be wonderful to have some more films and documentaries on this wonderful idea. So, yeah, let's hope that we can progress in that way.
Yes, Reincarnation. There was an English movie, A Dog's Purpose, where it showed the 9 or 10 lives of the dog reincarnating in as a different dog, and then actually connecting the dots between different life. Actually, it was quite interesting, but we don't see much of that in Bollywood, and that I think they should consider that. And somebody is asked about, I think it was Industrial Air Cooler. He said, I'm writing a film story in which we represent importance of Vedas, Upanishads, Gita in school education. How will it help society? Can Hindu Academy help me in story for a better script? We can certainly try. I think it's a very good idea. We can work on that. And yeah, get in touch and let's see what we can do. I think there can be ideas we can develop, which, especially personalities like Ramakrishna Paramhans, Swami Vivekananda, they're spiritual giants, and you hardly see anything on their life. Only there was a Bengali series about Sri Ramakrishna. But there is so much out there that is not explored by this. And with this change in the landscape of Bollywood, we hope that this kind of subjects are taken on and explored, where the spirituality can come to fore, hopefully. So can we help with that movie ideas? Sita Ben, can we do something about this?
Yeah, we'll try. I mean, I've got very limited experience in that sphere, but we can definitely try, Vijay Bhai, if you have any thoughts. We can
have a absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just to add, I mean, there are some wonderful films which are produced, like, for example, Gandhi was produced, and I wish there were more films like that produced on a lot of these incredible spiritual personalities like Mirabai and Tulsidas, and as Manish Bhai said, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda. If there was some more films like that, it can really inspire a lot of people, because the power of films and media is incredible. So it can really hopefully have a positive impact on a lot of people's lives.
Wonderful. Saji Nair has asked, why science needs spiritual cosmic connection? Now, as Jay Bhai said, there is a connection between science and spirituality, and Hindu movies can explore that. But Vijay Bhai, why science needs spiritual cosmic connection? The science is there in?
I think one thing we have to be very careful. Quite often we think in the kind of Western way. Mm-hmm. There is no difference between science and consciousness, spirituality. As I mentioned in previous videos, in ancient times, rishis of India, they didn't distinguish between mathematics, science, or the realm of metaphysics. They're all one field, all worthy of exploration, all spiritual. When they explore science, if you don't like spiritual idea of spirituality or whatever, and you don't meditate, pursue science and pursue your goal in science and find your answer. Don't stop. Eventually, you come to the same answer. So I think we have to be very careful when you say that science and spirituality. In the Western sense, they tend to keep it separate. They want science is based on empirical evidence, something physical, tangible. Otherwise, they will not. I mean, I think once Jay Bhai was in, I believe in the UCL. I think I was there at that time. This lady who was a very expert brain, I think studying the brain, idea phenomena. And she was there, and actually she was asked a question. Explain consciousness. And I can't, and I won't even go down that path because I can't prove it empirically. She didn't even bother to answer that question. She said, look, the idea of consciousness, all we know, it from gray matter we think, but why the process, what is the links between those? How does gray matter, which is, basically carbon, right? How does that think and become conscious? I won't go because I can't have empirical to prove it. So they won't even think about it. Whereas what Jay by saying videos, no, you can't do that. That's a blockage, right? You have to transcend and find the links. That's what we're trying to do here. So you can say science doesn't need, as of now, at some point science will stop. It has to go in that field of consciousness. So it can't just stop there. For how long will you stop at empirical evidence? You have to think further. But luckily in India in the ancient times, all the gurukuls, they never made distinction. All are worthy of spirituality, all sciences, and they never separate them. So that's the thing I like about this very famous movie. I think The Man Who Knew Infinity, Ramanujan's movie. When he was in Cambridge, he was studying, and one of the professors asked him, "Yeah, but you're giving all these formulas. Write them down. Show me how you thought about him." And he goes, "I don't know. Mother Goddess just told me." And they go, "What is wrong with this guy? Why is he saying that?" Because he didn't distinguish between the spirituality and the mathematics. To them, they're both, single one whole entity. So, and they go, "Yeah, God told me." And they go, "What do you mean God told you?" Okay, I'll try to write it down for you to explain. But you see, for him, all these endeavors are spiritual. Even mathematics is spiritual. So I think we should think in that form. Don't think in terms of Western sense. If you stuck in the Western sense, then you will not even talk about spirituality because you can't, or consciousness, because you can't really tangibly, put it in a box. You never do that, right? So we have to be careful how we look at this question. Asita?
Yeah, I mean, as Vijay Bhai said, I mean, from the Eastern perspective, the way that Eastern philosophy is all about is there is no distinction. I think in sort of the Western sphere, like we think of the external world as being out there and the internal world as being in here, whereas Dharma is the search for all the unity behind the diversity which is there. And I think the amazing thing is that actually, we keep thinking that we find the answers out there, whereas actually all of the answers are already within us. Like all of the knowledge, all of the information which supposedly out there in the world is already lying latent within us. Like, for example, if you look at Newton, an apple fell to the ground. The law of gravity wasn't just hiding out there in the world saying, hee, I'm waiting to be discovered. It was because all the links that Newton had in his mind were rearranged in a certain way for him to realize, this is the law of gravitation. So all of that information is already within us. And sometimes we just need these sort of external prompts to help us reimagine, realign the way that we think. And there's also that very amazing sort of thought experiment that Einstein did. He imagined himself traveling alongside a beam of light. It's all actually a process of intuition. We always think that we need all these amazing gadgets and gizmos in the external world to help us find what's going on in the world, whereas actually it's at the level of intuition that you really sort of hit the jackpot. And that's what a lot of ancient Hindu philosophy is. All the discoveries made were through that process of intuition and not through all of these very expensive gadgets and gizmos in the external world. So it's incredible that all of this knowledge is actually already latent within us. It's just we need to rearrange the links and discover who we truly are.
That is wonderful to hear, Sitaben. Mind-blowing stuff. We take Anubhav Raj is saying, sometimes I think we have an inferiority complex and we think everything Western is being cool, same with culture and cinema. So, and you see that in a way that Bollywood trying to copy Hollywood and trying to make remake Hollywood movies and ignore all these Indian subjects and just try to go down the same formula as what's happening in Bollywood. Are we suffering, and is there an improvement on this, Sitaben?
Yeah, I know, for example, there was recently a remake of Forrest Gump, which was, a very classic Hollywood film, and they've kind of done an Indian version of that. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that, but we've got so much within, we've got such a rich depth of material within the Indian subcontinent through our history. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that because they're sort of latching onto a very popular idea which worked. So obviously they want to make money and they think that this will help them generate the money and the popularity. But we've got a lot of stuff already that for example, Manish Bhai said this idea of reincarnation, creating films about the lives of these incredible spiritual personalities, which can really help change people's mindset away from a materialistic way of living to a more spiritual way of living. So we've got a lot of material out there, and I hope that it can be used in days to come. Vijay Bhai?
Yeah, I think one thing we have to be keep in mind is that the Western culture or Western stuff is not all bad. I think the key thing is that if you're grounded, if you've got a very well grounded Hindu, upbringing, or at least Hindu religion, then you can see things in a rational manner, because it's important to realize that in many ways the Western had done a lot of science in the West, especially in the 1800s, when India was still under the colonial rule, and there was a lot of renaissance taking place in the West. So quite a few things have come up which are really very new things. Even some of the latest, if you look at smallpox, vaccines, they're written by Edward Jenner. So a lot of good things came out of the West, and we shouldn't just discard it because we think, oh, West is giving us. Take what is good and discard, as Jay Bob said, what is excrement, throw it away, and the gems you keep, right? So think like that. And the thing is, ultimately, you have to get the best from everywhere and build your life and think like that. So I think we have to be very careful that while cinema is, I can imagine, we should go so many beautiful dharmic ideas we can make cinema on. We should follow that. We don't have to pick Western ideas, just for the sake of it. But there's some really good cinema in the West as well. Some of the movies, actually, to be fair, the West has created a far more broader genre of movies than actually in India. If you look at there's so many good science movies, so many, like I think was Avatar, all these movies in the West. Very creative ideas, and that's a good thing. I wish that came out from India, actually, in some ways. So there's some very, very good movies which come in the West with a lot of wide genre of thinking. And we need to get India to think like that. I think it's happening now from some of the comments I'm seeing, which Nishit Bhai has put on chat. It's happening. It makes me feel good. So let's hope we go towards that kind of idea.
Okay, with that, we'll conclude the Bollywood topic. I think we got some viewers' questions, so we'll take them now. So first question is from Ritis, saying, whenever I'm taking a deep breath while inhale and exhale, there is intense goosebumps or intense sensation arise from my spine, and it continues or keep on raking. Deep inhale, exhale, it goes to crown. Any helpful suggestion for him?
Well, I can say this is what Kundalini Yoga talks about in many ways. So all I can say is, if you experience this genuinely and you're feeling a spiritual kind of experience, then good for you, go on, yes? I mean, it does say that the 8 chakras we have, as you do breathe, and if you're really disciplined, if you're already spiritually evolved, then it does go to then how it actually helps spiritually. If it does, then all well and good, then please practice it. That's all I can add to that, Sita.
Yeah, I think, we always have to remember, because we believe in the idea of reincarnation, you're kind of picking up your spiritual journey from where you left off. And it's possible that you may have in a previous life developed a lot of spiritual power, maybe. And maybe in this life, it comes quite easily to you that the fact that you're able to just sit down and meditate and get this sensation of an energy rising in this way, it can perhaps be seen in a very positive light. And I think the very important thing to remember is that, you don't necessarily need to keep searching for approval from other places. When you had that spiritual experience, you know for sure yourself. So know that 100% that if you have had it, you will know what it is, and you won't need to seek validation from anybody else. So feel confident in yourself that you know what your spiritual experience is all about.
Wonderful stuff. I would suggest you watch some of these videos about from Jay Bhai on Raj Yoga. I think that will help you with this. The next question from Kapil Sharma, saying, I want to ask you about pluralism in Hinduism, that what are the limits of one who can worship weird things in the name of God? As we say, there are many parts to God, but which should we avoid? Is there any limitation in pluralism? Sitaben.
Yes, so that's a really important thing to remember is, yes, we have a lot of different pathways, but that does not mean anything goes. Because the thing with pluralism is that, within Hinduism, we've developed such a rich culture of so many individuals who have tried and tested all these various pathways and proved to be successful in those pathways. So it's not a case of anything goes, you just find some weird random thing to worship and, oh, that's a new pathway to God. No, it's because it's been tried and tested by so many saints and prophets throughout the ages, throughout hundreds and thousands of years, who have said, yes, this pathway works. And they approve that, and they say to people, why don't you try this as a pathway? So that's how it is. That's how pluralism works. It's not an anything goes approach. It's not relativism. These are tried and tested pathways, and we have to follow the guidance of spiritual masters who have been successful in those pathways. So I think that's the really important thing to remember. Vijay bhai?
Yeah, I think that's one thing to be very careful about. It's not relativism. Hinduism is not, pluralism is not relativism. It's not anything goes. So we have to be careful. But I mean, of course, it's a very broad freedom you have in Hinduism. And I'm pretty sure paths are really weird and strange. At worst, there will only be a very tiny number of followers. I mean, and it might even die out. So people will keep on trying different things. Only the successful ones, especially when you have the spiritual giants who have actually succeeded, those are the ones who become the most common. So I think generally, I think most people know what kind of paths to follow. But we have to be very careful. We don't vilify, because quite often you see people like Adivasis, they believe in nature worship, and we should be careful not to vilify them because they're different from us. You know, I'll give you one interesting example, which is very strange. You know, in India, you have all these Naga Babas, they call them. They come to the Kumbh Mela. And I always had some sort of, I would say hatred, but I didn't have some sort of aversion to them. I didn't really like them that much. But then, so let me go a bit deeper, read them. And now I hear that rather than pushing them away, I believe there's a very famous guru in India, I think Advaita Giri. He's become the first guru. So 100,000 Babas have a guru now at last. So he said, he took the different numbers. Look, rather than pushing them to follow a different path, I'll become the guru, and then we can guide them. So they now have a guru for the first time. And the other interesting thing I learned about them, they are the ones who took a lot of arms to defend Hinduism. You'd be surprised. All these naked sadhus you running around, the 4 or 5 major battles they fought against the Islamic invaders, against even the British. They actually fought to defend Hinduism. So it's quite ironic. So I think the thing is, we have to be careful how we judge, but we have to realize you can't just for anything you want. But there's some amount of freedom, but you also have responsibility. That's what Dharma is about, right? Freedom with responsibility. So keep that in mind when you follow your path in spirituality.
Thank you. Next question is from Flatbush is Undead. He's asking, do the team have any advice for me, a Western seeker who plans on doing a pilgrimage in India? Vijay bhai?
What I hear now is becoming better and better to pilgrimage in India. There's so many different ways, and infrastructure is improving. There's much more living, better conditions, better food, everything. So I think if you go to India, you have a very great time. But there's so much to see in India. I mean, it depends where you want to start. If you're a Shaivite follower, I don't know where you want to start. It's so difficult to explain this, Manish bhai, because if you're a Shaivite follower, then there's Bar Jyotirlings. If you go South India, there's the brilliant Meenakshi temples. Srirangapatnam, Madurai. If you go to Kerala, there's Guru Vayurappan Temple. Andhra Pradesh, there's Tirupati Balaji. So if you're planning to go, I think you can't cover all of it in one trip. I think choose one part of India and then look for the best temples, I guess, and maybe some geographical locations. And if you're going to North India, then of course you have the beautiful Himalayas. So it's difficult to give you advice on this because we can be talking all day on this topic. But all I will say is that, think about it, and main thing is to go with the spiritual mind, and then I think you'll be okay. Sita?
Yeah, I completely agree. It depends on your approach, really. It depends if you believe in any deities or have an attraction towards any particular deities, you may want to go to temples dedicated to those deities. Probably the most popular and one of the biggest pilgrimage sites in India is Varanasi, because you've got the river Ganges there. You've got it's meant to be the abode of Shiva on earth. There's lots of saints and prophets who have visited it, so there's a tremendous amount to see there. But everyone, I mean, not everyone, but there is this sort of belief that, you know, it's very beneficial to take a dip in the river Ganges and your sins will be washed away. But I strongly don't recommend it. I don't know if it's particularly clean and hygienic. You might end up with more germs and bacteria and stuff. So please take care on that front. But please do enjoy India and the amount of beautiful places there are to see.
Yes, wonderful country, India, and I would suggest start with Haridwar. Go to Delhi and go to Haridwar and go upwards towards the Himalayas. There's Joshimart and wonderful sites there, and you will enjoy the temple visits as well as the beautiful scenery, and it's very uplifting. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion. And I went the last year, starting from Haridwar and going up north, Rudraprayag and all these places. They are wonderful. And with Modi Sarkar, they've been cleaned up, and a lot of efforts gone to improve them. So it's going. Wonderful. We take the next question from Real King. He's saying, is it true that Samrat Vikramaditya is real, or is he fictional history? I believe it's true. There was a king, but not the name. I think it was Chandragupta Maurya II, who was called Vikramaditya. So, but the story of the 32, they may be stories, but there was actual king called Vikramaditya. Chandragupta Maurya was called Vikramaditya. Is that true, Vijay Bhai? Your thoughts on that?
So I think the thing is that, yeah, I mean, I've done some research because I love city of Ujjain. Ujjain is very famous as the timekeepers of India. And the time, all the Vedic calendars, Vikram Samvat calendar, Shalivan, they all developed in Ujjain. I think Ujjain had a very famous astronomy department in those days. And they're timekeepers of India. The funny thing is, even the half meridian flows through Ujjain. India is 5.5 hours. It's not like 1 full hour. And it's literally flows through Ujjain, that line, right? Half line. So the time is also based on Ujjain. Ujjain is very famous. But all I can say is that there's so many stories of Vikramaditya. They can't all be linked to Vikramaditya. So there may be a historical king Vikramaditya, but I think there may be, when you put all the stories together, there may be various different kings who have got the title of Vikramaditya. So historically, there may be a king called Vikramaditya. I think there was one, but not all the stories attributed to him. I think Chandragupta Maurya was also famous. So there could be many others, and they may have taken the title of Vikramaditya in that sense. So I think there was a king, but also other kings took the title because it's very famous, right? The name Vikramaditya. They might have taken that name as well. So we have to be careful when we say Vikramaditya as one king who did hundreds of thousands of things. No, yeah. So in that sense, we have to keep that in mind. Sita?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it amazingly. Thank you.
Okay, we take a last question for the day. We're coming up to the hour. Stay Sastus has said, Swami Vivekananda said that India will be more glorious than ever, but there is severe rise on anti-India elements, Islamization in education, love jihad, forceful conversion. How can we sort it out, Vijay Bhai?
Actually, to be honest, it may look like that is getting better because think about it, since India got independence, the first 5, I think, education ministers were all from Islamic background. I think one was believing in the Khilafat movement, in the global Khilafah. Because we've been so kind of numbed and so conditioned, we thought there was no need. But now the fact that it's happening, this forceful conversion or Islamization, actually shows India is on the rise. It'll get worse. It'll get better. As Hinduism comes up and comes to the fore again, as Vivekananda is saying, it won't get any better. There'll be big blowback because so far we've been very pliant and compliant and behaving goody. And I think some Hindus are getting worked up now. Whereas the good thing about bad thing is a different story. But as Hindu Dharma comes up, all these temples are being renovated and people are making different kinds of movies or whatever. As more and more Hinduism comes to the fore after independence, you'll get more and more this backlash. You just have to be firm and strong. And again, we say it again and again. You have to ground your own self in proper knowledge of Hinduism, structured proper knowledge of Hinduism. Then you can take this force head on and not be worried about it. Yeah, that's all I can add to that, Sita.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be challenges because that's the nature of the world, is that you're always going to be faced with challenges from all sorts of places. But I mean, for example, in the UK, I mean, Hinduism is, is the third sort of biggest religion from a very recent statistic. I think it's one of those religions where, people don't feel like, oh, we are definitely not part of this religion. If you're brought up as Hindu, you are likely to want to follow in that tradition. I think we went through a phase where we were like, oh, we don't like the idea of religion. It's all about making money and having a big house. But now a lot of Hindus have achieved that, and they feel like, okay, we're comfortable financially and all of that. Now it's time to sort of, learn about ourselves, learn about our inheritance, our spiritual inheritance. And I think people are proud of that. And the fact that, we're not stuck in a rut. I think that's the beautiful thing about Hinduism, is that we don't have to follow the same Hinduism that was there 1,000 years ago. We can update it, we can modernize it, we can make it more relevant to the world today. So I think that's all very positive and in favor of Hinduism.
Fabulous. So we are at almost 1 hour mark. Well, it is a 1 hour mark now. And what a fantastic discussion we've had today. We looked at whether Bollywood is damaging. And like many other things in life, we say that there has to be a balance. We have to allow people to enjoy the benefits that Bollywood or filmmaking would bring. But I think the general consensus is that the audience of today is maturing, and they are now thirsty for a different kind of film or cinema experience, and not necessarily the traditional Bollywood masala kind of films. So hopefully, in the next couple of years, as I see the tide is turning, Bollywood will either style up and give us some fresh modern content, or they will become redundant and people will no longer watch Bollywood movies as they used to before. And so that's a very interesting topic to discuss. We had a lot of other questions as well that we covered. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you to our amazing community here online who turn up every week to be with us, because without your interactions, your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, your comments, we would not be able to shape this discussion the way we do. And it's always fun to have something new, a fresh perspective every week. And that helps us move this channel one step forward bit by bit. And so for that, we are grateful and say thank you. And before we close, I'd like to share a thought for the day. The thought for the day is that the best things in life are free. So it's important to never lose sight of that and look around you. And wherever you see friendship, loyalty, laughter, and love, that is your treasure for the day. I'm going to share a quote again. Now, normally I like sharing quotes from Swami Vivekananda, but today I'm going to share something else. We looked at Bollywood today, and obviously one of the places we have for Bollywood is the origin is India. And what other place shall we talk about unity and diversity other than India? I mean, a boiling pot of cultures, people, and different ways of doing things. So the quote is basically, we are all different, which is great because we are all unique. Because without diversity, life would be very boring. And I hope with that, that also reflects sort of the audience we have here on our channel as well. It's a very, very diverse audience. Every week I ask people where they're watching from, and you'll find people from all over the world, Hindus, non-Hindus, and everybody just comes together to enjoy the content. So yes, in unity, unity in diversity is for me a very interesting thing to look at. So as always, I'd like to say thank you to the team over here who've been very, very patient and answered the questions in such a competent manner. So thank you so much for handling all those questions that come to you at random times throughout the session. Folks, you've been a great audience. We wish you a great week ahead, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Saturday, same time, 2 o'clock UK time. Bye-bye for now.